York and Atlanta. Knicks led the series 3-2. We were back at State Farm Arena thinking the vibes would be immaculate. However, the hopes would be undone immediately. First quarter belonged to OG Anunoby. Scored from inside and outside, knocking down threes, 14 points in the first quarter, his most in any quarter of his playoff career. Fast forward to 47 seconds left. You see the margin. It's not great. Jalen Brunson downhill all by his lonesome somehow. A 25-point lead at the end of the first. Largest points differential in a playoff quarter since a long time ago.
The pain in your voice leads reading this.
I'm powering through right now.
You're doing amazing.
OG Anunoby left wide open. That's awesome. Later in the second, Mikal Bridges, a lob to Mitchell Robinson, who apparently has affinity for toenails, I've heard.
No further questions.
I'm going to actually hold on to that as a saving grace. Just going to leave it alone and move on off the Hawks mix. Knicks in transition, doing anything they want. You're not going to get excitement out of me for this one. I'm sorry. It's a great play, Mikal Bridges. Awesome.
I mean, they're just out there having fun.
It's apparently just open gym at Lifetime. Nobody's playing defense. OG Anunoby and one. Knicks up 49 after that. Then after the free throw, or I should say on the free throw, little scuffle. Clearly out of frustration at this point. Dyson Daniels and Mitchell Robinson getting in each other's grill. A ref went down at one point.
Ooh.
Eventually, guys get separated. You see on the replay clearly Dyson just frustrated is all outdoors. And both of them would be ejected by the end of it. It's a 47-point lead. And that's at halftime, folks. Early third quarter action.
I mean, the Knicks could have scored just 7 points in the second half and still won this game, Trev.
So sick. This is the last play to highlight. I'm calling it into this. Karl Anthony Towns, really good, and he was with Lisa Salters post-game. So let's provide some more context to the belt to behind that we witnessed out there in Atlanta. 4,500 playoff games in NBA history. Knicks' 47-point halftime lead is the largest ever. Even when including the regular season, the Knicks' 47-point lead is tied for the second largest at the half in over 73,000 games.
There's a comma in that number. It's a lot.
Only team with a larger lead was the 2020 Mavs, a squad that, ironically enough, also featured Jalen Brunson.
For more on this one, we bring in our NBA analyst, Danny Green. Danny, we've heard coaches talk about the dangers of a big lead early, but the Knicks got that lead and kept their foot on the gas. How are they able to keep it going?
I mean, it's within themselves, right? They're supposed to be an experienced veteran type of team. They got to continue this energy and bring it on to the next round. If they come with that same intensity, I don't see many teams in the East that can beat them. Now, when they get to the finals, if they get to the finals, that's where the challenge comes into play. But the way they approach this game, defensively, physically, offensively, through the first punch, Atlanta kind of threw the white flag, and this was over in the first quarter. They didn't have a great outing. They couldn't make many shots. But it doesn't matter. Even if they were making shots and playing better, New York was playing a brand of basketball that we all have expected them to play since the beginning of the season. Like, this is the expectations we've had for this New York Knicks team, and they came out and brought that energy tonight.
It certainly clicked, like on all cylinders. It was a masterclass down there at State Farm Arena. But I want to pivot over to the Hawks side of things. And frankly, you see that young team go up 2-1, however fluky those wins were. But then they go out and lose 3 straight by double digits to a team that, as you mentioned, is battle-tested and has high expectations. So if you're in that Atlanta locker room, what can you possibly glean from those 3 losses and the way this series got away from you that you could possibly take into next season?
I mean, you just look at the season as a whole. This was a great season for Atlanta. They really turned around, especially after trade deadline, but a lot to build off of and a lot to use as motivation for next year. This is a team that you probably will see again in the season and maybe in the postseason. Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, C.J. McCollum, who had a great first couple of games. These guys can use this as motivation to get better and build for next year. And hopefully the front office make the right moves to get them in position. They might get a nice little draft pick this summer as well. So, yes, enjoy the season, celebrate it. You guys have nothing to keep your head down. This last game put a little damper on it, the way you lost in that fashion. But overall, give them 2 claps and a pat on the back. Atlanta had a heck of a second half of the season and, surprised a lot of people. This is not a group that you expect take the New York Knicks to 6 games.
Danny, you mentioned this is the Knicks team that we had kind of expected to see this season. Now with a couple days off going into the next series, what are your expectations for the Knicks moving forward in the playoffs?
Well, now they can get some rest. I expect them to. This is the level, right? This is the standard. You got to play at this level, regardless who comes out of that Philly-Boston series. If you bring this type of intensity, this type of fashion of basketball, you should be able to win that series too within 5 or 6 games. Because we can't disrespect that those are still really good ball clubs, Boston and Philly. But when New York has this type of depth, this type of roster with Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, coming out to play. OG was just balling from the start, and of course when you Cat having triple doubles and Jalen Brunson being the most clutch player of the year, this is a team that should be in the finals. So we expect them to play this type of brand of basketball and get to where we expect them to be.
They are championship-worthy caliber, I should say. It's just got to click at all cylinders as it did this evening. Danny Green, we appreciate you, as always, joining us here on SportsCenter. But new on SportsCenter here, let's check in with the winning side of things. Head coach Mike Brown is at the podium.
I'd like to start off firstly, just recognizing Atlanta Hawks. It was a good series. Quinn and his staff, I've said this before, they helped us get better, and I think they would say the same about us. Quinn pushed a lot of right buttons. Their team did too, and it made us, have to try to keep figuring out how we can help our guys be better. So, appreciate that. Obviously, at the end of the day, for us, it was two things. We had to keep them off the glass, and we had to keep them out of transition. And, our guys did a good job of that tonight. 8 fast break points, 11 offensive rebounds, especially when there were a lot of missed opportunities, 14 second chance points. That's a good night in the two key areas that we had been talking about the whole series. Had a lot of great performances. OG was phenomenal. He played 27 minutes, had 29 points on 14 field goal attempts, and he rebounded his behind off. Josh, again, the defensive versatility that he brings to the table for us was second to none. Cat, it's his second triple-double in the series. I mean, phenomenal. Mikal, 10 for 12 from the field, but just as importantly, 5 rebounds. Phenomenal. And then Jalen, he's just doing what he does. He attracts so much attention that whether he's making shots, missing shots, he obviously had 8 assists and 0 turnovers, but he just makes the game easier for his teammates. And, his ability to set screens is second to none. So 33 assists on 50 field goals. Just a really, really good night offensively. But like I said, we did the things that we were supposed to do, and our players were really, really good with their focus and attention to detail. And like I said, I give my entire staff, Chris Gent, Brendan O'Connor, Brunson, Dermond, Ricky Foy, TJ Saint, Mo Cheeks, Mark Bryant, Chuck Allen. I know I'm forgetting Jordan Brink, Joe. I don't know how to say Joe's last name. Joe, I'm sorry. I apologize. Peter Patton. I could go on and on. Billy Lang, on and on and on about the guys that carried me, and I'm the one sitting up here. But those guys were phenomenal getting us prepared for the series, and they were phenomenal throughout the course of the series. So I take my hat off not only to our players, but to my entire coaching staff, including the video room and the performance group.
Mike, you mentioned the second triple-double for Cat. I'm just wondering that you guys obviously have made a more concerted effort to run offense through him. Is this kind of what you envisioned for the offense all year, or is this kind of specifically what the Hawks have made you do based on the way that they play?
No, I said it before. You know, we changed the way we played offensively and defensively about halfway through the season, and we changed again after Game 3. So, like I said, it's one of the many things I'm saying. I got to give Atlanta credit and Quinn Snyder. They forced us to put our thinking caps on, and they forced us to play different, find ways to make the game easier for our players while putting them in their strengths, and still having, you know, and still not, while trying not to hinder them, you know. So we changed what we've done offensively, but again, it was because we were pushed to do it, and we feel pretty good about what we fell into.
Mike, this is, I think the second, maybe the third time you've kind of mentioned that the Hawks kind of made you guys better, and you kind of hinted at what you mean by it now. I was wondering if you could go explain a little bit more about what you mean. Like, how did they actually make you guys a better team during this series?
You know, basically the biggest thing is we had to change our offense. Again, not as drastic as we probably did halfway through the year, but we had to change it because every possession was a grind those first 3 games, especially down the stretch. And so we had to find more ways to put our guys in their strengths while getting to it quickly, while still having options. I'm not a guy that likes to call every play. I want our guys to be able to read where the advantage is quickly throughout the course of the action. And Atlanta forced us to find a way to do that, and we feel pretty good about where we're at right now. But it happened holistically after Game 3.
Mike, you mentioned the attention to detail, the focus. Those weren't always this team's greatest traits at times during the regular season. And I know you've coached a lot of games bigger than this, but in terms of just a proud victory, where does this rank for you? Like the guys just being willing to not take the foot off the gas?
I'm extremely proud of the group, and that's why I mentioned. I mean, I would have mentioned everybody on the team and roster, but you guys know those guys. So, and I would have mentioned the rest of all the performance guys and the rest of the video room and all that. But I don't have a great memory, so I don't know all their names. But I'm extremely proud of the group. And like I said, I'm sitting up here, but my staff was unfreaking believable, and we still have a long way to go. Just as much as the players were. It's a players' league. They brought it, but I got to give my staff a ton of credit, way more than me, and that's why I said that, because it takes a village to do that. Even Derek was great.
Good job, Derek.
We're not seeing the Timberlands.
Fair enough.
Mike, how good is it for Mikal, confidence-wise, to have a game like this, the offensive game like this, moving forward?
No, it was great. He just did what he's capable of doing. Now, is he going to go 10 for 12 every night? No, but he was aggressive. He took great shots, but I wouldn't let it go unnoticed that his defense was phenomenal. Not only was his defense phenomenal, but rebounding. A guy like Mikal should average 5 to 7 rebounds a game at his size if he's playing 30-plus minutes, and he had 5. So it's a big night on both ends of the floor by Mikal.
Mike, I know you said before the game, closeout games are the hardest.
Yeah.
Didn't look that way, but when you see that first quarter, you guys had, I think, 7 steals, 3 blocks, and just a 35-6 run or something. When you see that, are you kind of looking like, a bit at what your team could be?
Again, it's hard to replicate, duplicate, however you want to say it, but our guys, their connectedness right now is off the charts. And like I said, when you lock in to the detail and you're connected like that with a group that's as talented and versatile as that group, you have a chance to do that.
Mike, with the Mitch incident, I guess what do you make of that? Do you kind of want him to be above that, or what do you make of that?
That's hard. I haven't seen obviously the film, and it's tough because when you're up that big, stuff happens, and it's hard if somebody feels like something that shouldn't happen to them happened. It's hard to keep your composure in that moment. But at the end of the day, that's what we talked about, and our guys did a good job of that the rest of the game.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Pat's coming in here, but the locker room is also open.